Okay, today we are on Exploring Maps textbook, Chapter 3, Finding a Place on a Map. And there's an obvious typo on this book, so that should say Finding a Place on a Map. I want you to pay close attention to the big question in this chapter. Coordinates include a unit of measure called a degree. What does a degree measure? Okay, so be thinking about that as we read. Crossing the United States back in the 1860s, building the Transcontinental Railroad was backbreaking work. The workers didn't have any modern equipment. They used hammers, shovels, and explosives to move earth and rock. They carried each heavy steel rail by hand. Workers placed the rails on wooden ties and hammered steel spikes into place to hold the rails. Then the workers moved on. They placed more ties. They hauled more rails. They drove more spikes. There were different crews of laborers. For one long section of the railway line, a crew started in Omaha, Nebraska. This crew built the railway heading east. The other crew started in Sacramento, California. This crew built the railway heading west. It seemed like an impossible job, but the two armies of workers laid mile after mile of track. For 6 years, the work progressed. Finally, on May 10th, 1869, the two railroads met. The place was Promontory Point, Utah. And now we'll go back up to our pictures. So what they're saying is this blue section, blue line of railroad, started in Omaha, Nebraska. Okay, and at this time, all this kind of really lightly pink shaded area, this is the Nebraska Territory. Okay, this was not a state yet. It's just a territory. So it started in Omaha and it went west towards Promontory Point, Utah. And at this time, Utah was just a territory. Okay, this red portion of the railway started in Sacramento, California and worked its way east. And they both met up in Promontory Point on May 10th of 1869. And then if we look, this is a photograph showing this scene the day the Transcontinental Railroad was completed at Promontory Point, Utah on May 10th, 1869. This time, photographs were not made in color, so you could only get a photograph done in black and white. So, dividing the lines, where on earth is Promontory Point? Well, we would read its exact location in this way. You will see it written as a combination of numbers and symbols. 41 degrees 38 minutes north by 112 degrees 30 minutes west. Okay, you've studied latitude and longitude. You know about degrees. What are the extra numbers in the coordinates? The extra numbers are called minutes. The first coordinate for Promontory Point is 41 degrees 38 minutes north. That is short for 41 degrees 38 minutes north. Recall, parallels of latitude are 69 miles apart. Well, meridians are also many miles apart in most places. Sometimes map makers want to be able to pinpoint spots between parallels of latitude and between meridians of longitude. So they divide degrees into smaller units, so they're breaking it down even more. Well, there are 60 minutes in 1 degree. Just like there are 60 minutes in 1 hour, there are 60 minutes in 1 degree. When writing the coordinates, they use the symbol, like an apostrophe symbol, to stand for minutes. So 38 with the little apostrophe is read as 38 minutes. Okay, and so we kind of have to just look at this sideways, okay? So this is the United States in 1869. And as you can see, all these areas in green, these are just territories. They're not states yet, okay? So here's Utah territory. And there's your little red box there for Promontory Point. Sacramento was in California, and California was a state by then. Okay. All right, let's move on. Remember that minutes of latitude and longitude are not units of time. Instead, they are units of space. Not as in like far outer space, just space. So space on the globe, okay, or the Earth. You can't assume that because 2 points are 2 minutes apart in latitude that it would take you 2 minutes to get from one to the other. That's not how that works. The coordinates of Promontory Point are 41 degrees 38 minutes north, 112 degrees 30 minutes west. You can use these coordinates to find the location of Promontory Point on a map. You know that latitude measures distance north and south of the equator. So the coordinate that ends with N for north or S for south is the latitude. That would be 41 degrees 38 minutes north, while longitude indicates locations that are east and west of the prime meridian. So 112 degrees 30 minutes west is the longitude. So it's that distance from the prime meridian. And if we look at this, say we're trying to locate Promontory Point like they're talking about. Here are your 40 degrees north, and here's 45 degrees north. So if it's 41 degrees 38 minutes north, okay, that's how many degrees north of the equator it is. Okay, and then if you looked up here along the top, all right, we would see, if we go up this way, we're between 110 degrees west and 115 degrees west. So that's a distance away from the prime meridian. All right, and we know that we're 112 degrees 30 minutes west. Where parallels and meridians cross. So if we were to look on that map showing the United States in 1869, we can recognize most of the states. However, many of the states west of the Mississippi River have not yet been formed. The government called these places territories. Somewhere out in the territories is Promontory Point. Well, we've already found it, right? This map shows parallels and meridians every 5 degrees. See if you can locate the coordinates for Promontory Point. Okay, we've already done all of this, so I'm going to kind of skip around here. I'll read it, but you've already watched how to do it. First, we were to look along the west side of the map. You won't find 41 degrees 38 minutes north, so locate the parallel of latitude closest to it. Well, that is the 40-degree north parallel. So what they're talking about is this is closest to this parallel, okay? And we see that's 40 degrees north. All right. The place you're looking for will be 1 degree 38 minutes north of that parallel. So think about it this way. There are 5 degrees between each parallel shown on the map. So 1 degree is less than half of the distance between the parallels. So estimate or carefully guess where that place is. Put your index finger on it. Well, we can't do that because we're on the computer. Look along the northern area of the map, locate the meridian of longitude closest to 112 degrees 30 minutes west, and once again, this exact meridian is not shown. But 112 degrees 30 minutes west will be about halfway between the 110 degree and the 115 degree meridians. So they're talking about right here, okay? It's right between these. So we use estimation. If there's 5 degrees, and we're close to halfway, but not quite, then we would know we're about 112 degrees. So if we were able to, you could take your 2 fingers on the map, you could move them toward each other, following the parallel and meridian they're making. And the place where your 2 fingers meet, where the meridian and the parallel cross, is Promontory Point. So they're just saying you could start, one here, and then you could move together and find where they meet. Okay, we could also look at the map and find Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha is located at 41 degrees 18 minutes north and 95 degrees 51 minutes west, and compare the coordinates of Omaha and Promontory Point. And you can see that the railroad went a long way west, but it only went a tiny bit, or 20 degrees north. Okay? So let's look and see if we can find Omaha, Nebraska. And it says it's 41 degrees, 18 minutes north. So we'll just say 41 degrees and 95 degrees. Okay? So here's 40 degrees. So we need 41 degrees. And we're going to go all the way over here to 95 degrees west. And it would be a little bit more, right? Because it's right here. So see, you can just follow your finger along those, and then you can make your fingers meet up, and then you would be able to find it. Finding an exact location. The Transcontinental Railroad linked the eastern United States with the West Coast. Even earlier, the Pony Express was the way mail was sent across the Wild West, as it was called. Riders on horseback carried the mail along the Pony Express route. They changed horses about every 10 miles. After 100 miles, a rider handed the mail to another rider. The new rider carried it for another 100 miles. The route ran from St. Joseph, Missouri to Sacramento, California. It was almost 2,000 miles long. Mail took about 10 days to get from one end to the other. Today there is the Pony Express Museum in St. Joseph, Missouri. There you can learn all about the Pony Express. You can see pictures of the riders. You can also learn about the dangers they faced. Okay, and if any of you have ever ridden a horse, you would know that even just riding 10 miles is a lot, and it makes you very sore to sit in a saddle that long. And try imagining riding 100 miles on a horse. So you would go through how many horses to go 100 miles if you had to change your horse every 10 miles? Okay? If you were to do that, you would change horses 10 times. You'd ride 10 different horses. That's a long time to be riding a horse. They were very brave. They faced many, many dangers along the way. Okay, so there's a couple of pictures here about this route from St. Joseph all the way across the mountains to Sacramento, California, because they had to cross the Rocky Mountains, which was very dangerous territory. Let's imagine that your parents or relatives have agreed to take you to the museum. First, you have to find out where St. Joseph, Missouri is located. Remember, you can use computers and applications to find this information, but it's also useful to know the skills for finding this kind of information in other ways. Okay? To find St. Joseph, you could start with a book of maps called an atlas. An atlas has an index, which is your alphabetical list of names and places that appear in a book. They usually include the page numbers where the name appears. You could look at the sample index on page 31. So here's an example. Okay, this is an index for an atlas. And we could go down, we could find St. Joseph, Missouri, and we would find it on page 121, it says. And it gives us our latitude and our longitude, and we could use those coordinates to then find it on a map. Okay, so it shows the coordinates for St. Joseph. It also shows the page where you will find the map in which St. Joseph appears. So let's take a closer look at St. Joseph, Missouri to learn about different types of coordinates that are used on road maps. Imagine that you are on a sightseeing trip with your family. Since you are such a map expert, you have been given the map. Your task is to find the Pony Express Museum on a map of St. Joseph. Instead of looking all over the map, start with the road map index. This is like the index in a book. It lists all the places shown on the map. It also gives their coordinates. The index gives you these coordinates. It might say C2. Wow, you're puzzled. These are different coordinates from those for longitude and latitude. Many local highway maps give coordinates as letters and numbers because they are simpler to use on maps of small areas. Look at the map of St. Joseph above. Notice that the letters run down the side of the map. Meanwhile, the numbers run along the top. Okay, so see, there's the letters going down the side, on the left side where the Missouri River is, and there's numbers going along the top. Okay, and if we always need to look at our map key, and we should be able to find Interstate 229 and US Highway 169. Okay, there's also a Highway 36 too. All right, so if we were to look at the map, we would notice the letters running down the side and the numbers along the top, and we're looking for coordinate C2. So put one finger on the space mark 2, put another finger on the space mark C, follow the spaces until they meet. Somewhere close to where your fingers meet is the Pony Express Museum. Okay, so I'll leave this here for a second, and I want you to do that. One finger on C, the other finger on 2, slide the finger on C to the right, slide the finger on 2 down. Okay, and they should meet up. There's an arrow pointing to a purple box, okay, that says the Pony Express Museum. All right, and as you know, we live very close to Missouri, so it wouldn't be too terribly far to drive to St. Joseph. That would be a really cool trip to take with your parents. You have a great time at the Pony Express Museum. Your mother decides she wants to see the Albrecht Kemper Art Museum, but she can't find it on the map. Can you? The map index will tell you that the coordinates are A4. How will you get there? And about how far is it from the Pony Express Museum? So they're saying, go back up here, and if you are here at the Pony Express Museum, and your mom wants to go to the Albrecht Kemper Art Museum, okay, and it's about A3 and almost 3 3/4, okay? But if you put your finger at 4, you'll find it at A4. Okay, it's kind of between 3 and 4. And then using your map scale, you could figure out which streets you needed to take, which directions you needed to turn, right? And about how far of a distance that would be. So you could guide your mom on where to go and how to get there and how long it would take. All right, we're going to leave off there for today. All right, good job paying attention today.